I'm sure people are coming to this channel because I'm talking about Persona 5 and tearing apart the supposedly best criticism that the game has seen since its inception.
The interrogation trigger is very inconsistent.
Oh, you stink!
But I want to take some time to actually deliver my own criticism of the latest incarnation of the latest Persona game, Persona 5 Royale. Don't take this video the wrong way. I think Royale is a good addition to the Persona series, but I think that in and of itself it has some flaws that made me roll my eye. So welcome, I'm MangaKamen, and let's enjoy this. And hey, remember everyone, this is my opinion! And as we all know, whatever I say is the objective truth, and if you disagree with that, then you're more than welcome to suck my Mara. Oh, and spoilers, you've been warned. I'm technically cheating with this one since it's not actually a problem with the game itself, but that's why it's on the lowest of this list right here. DLC for Persona 5 is kind of BS, in my opinion. Let's start with the alternate costumes. Like, I totally understand paying like about $2 for the alternate outfits for the main party. That's fine. I get it. It also gives you a chance to change the battle system music, which I enjoy. But why in the world would you make a single character's costumes be completely separate and charge $15?
Shut your mouth and look at my wad!
Like, no joke, this is just outrageous, and it doesn't make a lick of sense to me. This kind of DLC practice is predatory, and I never touch that one, especially when most of the time I want costumes, it's to change the battle music in the game. Speaking of battles, because of the Persona Batch DLC, which includes one of my favorite design personas, Royale, like, look at this guy! You've been hit by? You've been struck by? But unfortunately, because of this, we're given DLC personas that can tear through the game quite easily. Like, Izanagi no Okami's Myriad Truth is a spell that can easily tear through the enemies in the game, and it pretty much trivializes the combat system. Now, I wouldn't have much of a problem with this if it wasn't for the fact that you can get this busted skill extremely early in the game for nothing for the in-game currency, especially since Persona itself is really high leveled and can give you a very good buff on your stats. Like, what the hell? You'd have to be nutso to not want to take advantage of that. And I guess I am nutso because I legit had to skip out on this obviously broken persona so I could do things normally and experience the game better. And again, I wouldn't have a problem if there wasn't an actual dollar paywall to the win battle here, but this is on part of the time Pokemon decided to give players a speed boost Torchic. It just makes the games easier than they need to be. It otherwise makes the game way too easy in my humble opinion and makes the new final boss a bit of a letdown since I love the aspects of the final boss, which we'll talk about later.
By the myriad truths!
Okay, let's move on.
I know that I already got a spoiler tag, but in case you decide to ignore that, then this is one last chance to click off the video. I've got plenty of other videos, why not check out that selection? Okay, your fault now. So in Royale, we're introduced to the third trimester portion of the game, which essentially gives you an additional month or so of time. Joker doesn't go to prison, Akechi apparently is alive.
Don't embarrass me. Oh, I guess you want to die!
And you're able to spend time with your friends.
No, unacceptable!
Hey, you've been acting kinda weird since yesterday. What?
Oh my. But hey, in concept, this is actually pretty cool. Especially with the addition of 3 new confidants added to the mix, this should be an opportune time to actually get to fill out some of the other confidants you skipped out in order to pick up some slack. Especially through a first playthrough where you'd have to dedicate time in order to improve your social stats as well. Unfortunately, one of my biggest complaints comes from the beginning of the section. Basically how you're forced in the beginning to go after your friends whose memories have been changed and how they're happy with the changed mentality, happy in the changed reality. So I'm gonna point out what sucks to me is that you're unable to do anything in this evening action when you talk to your friends. Which I get, I suppose, but it seems like such a waste of time to me. We can't do anything in the evening after we talk to our friends? And later, when we talk to our friends in order to get their third form personas, I feel like it's a bit weird to just have them occur during the daytime and not offer the chance to meet your friends at night during this time frame. My reasoning for this is because if you consider the main game, if you're like me, you're the one who wanted to optimize his party and get them to evolve their personas and acquire all the social link skills in order to make them the best party available. So naturally, you'd want to prioritize their social links, and that means spending more of your time with them during the day while neglecting other confidants that you can spend time with during the daytime. Perhaps it's just me for being stupid with my time management in the game, but I'm just saying it would have been a nice little touch and make it a little bit more realistic.
The sweets.
Sweets. Sweets?
Sweets.
Sweets. Hey, chicken comes to mind when I think of you, Ryuji. Chicken.
I feel bad for you, and how fucking dare you say that to me! I'm gonna make you respect those goddamn.
I want to preface this one with another disclaimer. I think critiquing a game for what it doesn't do is a cheap criticism. Personally, when it comes to critiquing a game, you need to cover what a game does actually and not berate it for what it doesn't do. Just because one game does one thing, that doesn't mean that it's a game that something it does different is bad. That being said, I'm willing to stretch that rule for Persona 5 Royal since it's a remake of the original counterpart. No, what we're talking about is the bosses. Persona 5 Royal managed to add a bit more flair to the bosses, with Madarame having the ability to split off into 4 multicolored versions of himself, and Kamoshida, well...
No, permission not granted.
Rest in peace, monetization. But in any case, my issue with the bosses in Persona 5 Royal is that they're supposed to be improvements over previous bosses, but they're really kind of lackluster in my humble opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand they play more to the themes here. Like how Kaneshiro summons 2 guards to help him out, or how Okumura has an unquestioning cognitive Haru, but I would have loved to see more dynamic changes to the bosses for their second stage, especially starting with Kaneshiro and going on up. I don't know, it's kind of a complaint I had with the original Persona 5 that after the bosses, after Madarame, they didn't have that same impact. And that's because when they transformed, their transformations weren't, as drastic. I feel like they could have done a lot more to show the sinful sides of these characters. It's kind of why I really like the boss fight with Sai, because it has you fight her shadow and then she mutates into that more armored dominatrix-like form. That's just me though, and I guess I've been tainted with Kamen Rider logic. And then there's the new final boss, Maruki. And don't get me wrong, on a thematic level, it's very entertaining, and I just dig Adam Kaman's design and concept, because let's face it, I love fighting giant bosses. I loved it in Metal Gear Rising, and I love it in Persona 5. The problem for me comes with the final part, where it must become a more scripted fight, which I guess is fine, but I really don't care for it. I didn't care for it in Final Fantasy VII, and I don't care for it now. It doesn't really test my skill in the game, and that's personally a bit of a letdown. Coupled with the fact that the DLC complaint I had earlier is an issue that I'll bring up later, it makes for a rather paltry experience for me. An entertaining one, nonetheless, but one that takes a bit of agency from me and overly scripts it, which is kind of a deal breaker for me.
Checkmate.
If there's one thing I hate about games that have multiple romance options in it, it's being told or getting the vibe that there's an obvious pairing in the game. This is kind of the reason why I don't like Marie from Persona 4 Golden. Well, that and the fact her dungeon is bull.
No, permission not granted.
Throughout Persona 4 Golden, we're given scenes with Mari, which basically felt shoehorned to me. And hey, if you disagree with me with that, that's perfectly fine. And that leads to the actual part of this video, Kasumi, or to be more precise, Sumeri. Oh, shut up, I gave you 2 spoiler warnings. What more do you want? I can only speak through myself and my through playthroughs of Royal, but I didn't really care for the fact that the game was really pushing a relationship between the main character and the red-headed girl who loves to call you Senpai. I honestly get that the game is trying to tie the girl into the endgame content, and to have that shocking revelation, and in that regard, I can appreciate that. But I think there's a bit of a cost to that, with the game trying a bit too hard to pair you with Kasumi/Sumeri together. Hell, one of the only 2 Showtime attacks that Joker gets access to involves Sumeri, and it's obviously got a bit of a romantic undertone to it.
行きます。ショータイムです。
Plus, if you think, like, this is romantic... I mean, for me, at this point in the story, I had already wooed Haru and spent Christmas time with her, and I feel as though that the chance to actually date Kasumi comes in a bit too late for my taste. And it just feels a little underhanded to me to put Sumire as romantic option after I already committed myself to wanting to date Haru.
Thank you for being with me.
Damn it, game, stop trying to turn me into a cheating SOB! Call me old-fashioned, but when I make a decision to have a relationship with a girl, I don't want to cheat on her.
My weak self relied on you so much. That ends today.
So, hopefully, with my scripting, I've actually been doing a decent job at this, and I've been hinting at it, and I didn't screw up in my recording, but I've been giving my biggest issue throughout this video, and I've been dropping small hints. But the biggest issue I have with Royale is Ryuji.
I see. My ass.
No, not so much with the character himself, but with his social link abilities, namely the insta-kill one. Oh my word, this thing is a beast of a reward. Whether you be in a palace or mementos, the moment you crash into an enemy, you instantly kill it and you reap the rewards as long as it's at a smaller level than you. A free persona, free money, and all the EXP that it could offer. Man, if I could run into people who are weaker than me and get all that, I'd be set for life. And that's what actually happened in Persona 5 Royale. The moment you get that unlocked in the game, you'll be dashing through enemies left and right, taking all the EXP quickly. Now the reason why this is on number 1 is because I'm of two minds of it, and that's mainly due to the fact it completely eliminates the need for grinding in the game. Not that it was much of a problem in the first one, but it saves so much time. That being said, on the other half of me brain, this pretty much broke the entire game for me. You see, one of the improvements that I really liked in Royale was how they made mementos a more interesting location to explore. To get stamps, to get new music, collecting flowers to get special items, and even the additional randomized changes you could get. I would spend hours going through it in order to enjoy the music, get the items, all the while steamrolling the enemies to level up my team all the while, without having to waste time battling. Not helped is that you can actually get more experience thanks to the boost that Jose provides you when you get enough stamp collections. It pretty much eliminated any challenge I had in the game, and frankly, that was a bit of a letdown. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate it, but this sort of thing should have been regulated to a New Game Plus or at least gimp it down slightly. The best explanation I can give it in a comparison would have to be Pokemon's EXP share in recent years. It makes the battles a lot easier and maintaining a powerful team a lot quicker. The only difference is that this actually gives you money and a persona that you can use. This is another reason why I brought up the bosses and how I wouldn't have to worry about dealing with them because I already have a massive boost in levels to fight them with. But yeah, once again, I do think that as a game, Persona 5 Royale is good, and while these aren't my only complaints with the game, I'm not really interested in tearing something down to its basic core in order to paint it as bad. Because at the end of the day, it's not a bad game in my humble opinion, and I'm in no position to tell anyone to think the same or that they're wrong to think otherwise. Unless you've proven that you can't be bothered to actually understand basic mechanic of the game and blame it for it, but that's for another video I already put out. But now I look to you guys. What are your fatal 5 flaws of Persona 5? Let me know in the comments. I'm MangaKamen, and until then, remember to examine your fandom. Thanks for watching.